Howdy Heroes Hearth, this is Kyle Fergusson from Into the Nexus podcast, and today I'm going to talk about the real heroes of the storm, soakers, and in particular, I'd like to sell you on the idea of double soaking. So here we have Tomb of the Spider Queen, a classic double soak map that everyone should understand. Why do we always battle in the middle? Well, it's because these minions here meet first in the middle, slightly earlier, but first all the same. There is very little to encourage you to fight after this lane is over. And I can't show you a replay because you're going to see hero kills in the middle and feel good about it. There's dings, there's loud noises, there's experience associated with killing those heroes, and of course, that means they can't go soak. But do you go soak once you get that kill, once you clear that lane? Take a look at this chart. Here we can see that up until level 5, a full wave of minions, that's 3 melee minions, 1 leader or wizard minion as we call it, and 3 range minions, archers, are worth more XP than a kill. It is more important to soak lanes than to get kills. If someone dies in their solo lane, that is less important than someone getting up there and soaking that lane. We have this tendency to believe that if you're not hitting the enemy heroes, you're not participating in the video game. But here, from a recent CCL match, we can see some really cool things that happen. The red team appears to be dominating the field. They are further out. They are asserting themselves on the map, whereas the blue team is all acting really scared. There's no reason to fight right now because there's no minions. There's no XP to gather. And as we come together, it may seem as though our Genji is needlessly wasting his spells and his mana. He's dismounting people. By dismounting the various heroes, he's stopping them from being able to be pre-mounted and run off to whatever lane they might want to on the other side. On the minimap here, we can see Rag is already in the top, but there's no XP to gather, so their presence isn't needed yet. The blizzard comes down, clears the lane. The majority of the XP is gathered, but there's one little archer minion who's a little too dangerous to access. No problem, we split off. Perhaps more interesting than this is that the Genji is dismounting people during the rotation, slowing down their speed. Because of this, blue arrives in middle faster. Genji continues to disrupt the rotation. Blue team is level 2, and red team is level 1. But I hear you saying, well, that's all well and good, Kyle. That's a 5-stack team playing in a practice environment. How am I supposed to take advantage of soaking when people don't leave the middle? I mean, look at this good boy Malthael heading top because the lanes are connected. And yet everybody continues to battle it out in the middle for an extended period of time. And now the waves have come together, meaning they want to keep battling, and we re-engage and keep this farce going. I want to soak lanes. Well, here comes Malthael again. And it seems that he's pushed onto the enemy side. You're starting to see what I'm getting at here. It is frustrating that your team doesn't like to soak, but if you have the game knowledge available to execute a double soak, a good rotation, even if you're playing solo, even if you're Tomb of the Spider Queen Johanna and nobody's with you, you can rejoin at important moments and have an impact on the battlefield greater than getting kills until level 5. So here on Towers of Doom, double soaking is possible because the distance between this top and middle lane is pretty short. It's also pretty darn safe. Because of these walls, these bushes, it is entirely possible to head top without being seen. Likewise, you may note that the middle and bottom are close enough together, about the same distance. But you are exposed walking through this area, and because of the importance of these two camps on Towers of Doom, this area is often patrolled by the enemy team. The goal of double soaking, the ultimate goal, is to push your lane into the enemy towers, where the XP will be burned, destroyed, and not gathered by the enemy team. A little harder to do with the XP globes, but hey, people are still fighting in the middle after all. The danger associated with this is if you pass the middle mark of the map. This opens you up to ganks from more angles, not just people being super aggressive on your side of the map. By double soaking with a lane clear hero or a hero capable of decent lane clear, we can begin to get an edge in the battlefield. As we push out the top, then we go push out the middle, we start to gain map control. We are now in control of a greater amount of the map, and guess what the bonus is here? That our non-stop fighting 4-man has a level lead. They're gonna feel good about what they're doing. They're going to feel successful because they're a level up. You might be feeling like you're missing out on all the fun, but you're actually contributing over a kill's worth to the team every time you clear a lane. So here are the maps we're gonna most commonly associate with a double soak. And we're gonna include a little Blackheart's Bay in here as our initial example, just because it's a classic, but of course, it's not part of the ranked rotation. And I want you to know why we double soak on these maps, not just be told these are double soak maps. So here, Blackheart's Bay, we double soak because the top and the middle are so close to each other that one hero can handle this by going back and forth and back and forth. We would not double soak all the way to the bottom, strictly because of distance here, but also the eyeballs available on the enemy team, seeing you make this rotate and the possibility of ganks. These bushes are slightly dangerous, but they give us cover and mystery to rotate safely. Ideally, of course, we have 4 people in the bottom making pressure, and the enemy team cannot invest more than 1 person up here to stop you. If you pull 2 people to your lane because you are double soaking, the bottom should be winning. Never ever call for help when you're double soaking if you're fighting 2 people. Acknowledge you are winning and tell your bottom to get busy. Tomb of the Spider Queen. Again, it's not about distance. In fact, we can even see that the middle and bottom are probably closer together. It's about the danger of moving through this central area and getting in non-stop fights. Solo lanes battle in the bottom. Our 4-man rotates between top and mid, collecting all the gems that they can. Why are rotates so popular on Tomb of the Spider Queen? Because if you push out and have all your gems, the enemy team, just like Towers of Doom, loses map control, which means you have control of the turn-ins. Full Sky of Foundry. Double soaks happen from the mid to the top because of distance, and of course this raw chaos that occupy our space from middle to bottom. These are just our popular maps for double soaking, but you can be a badass soaker for your team as well by knowing what maps you can rotate on. It is so absurdly likely that people are going to get extremely busy on maps like Infernal Shrines, Dragonshire, and Sky Temple. But with good lane clear and a hero with enough escape to survive being alone, you can double soak these maps as well. Infernal Shrines is a particularly cool and interesting case of double soaking. It's entirely based on where the objective is going to be. Our double soaker, because both these lanes are about equidistant and equally safe to navigate through without exposing yourself to the enemy team, can double soak during the objective with hopefully agreement from their team. Let's say the objective is going to be in the top. Well, with a 4v4 battling it out up here, we would double soak the bottom and mid. Objective is going to be bottom. Well, we should double soak the mid and top. Objective is going to be middle. Well, this is kind of an interesting case, but if we soak the bottom and the mid, we can push out and gain map control of Infernal Shrines. You know what that means? That means we can use this bush to access the enemy team. If we're pushed out, we can't use that bush. We only have 2 angles of approach now, and that's going to be through here mainly, but also from the top, allowing us an additional angle of escape, an additional angle of engage, can make your team feel like they're winning with that sweet single level you've given them. I'm not even talking about heroic tiers. I'm not talking about talent leads. I'm just talking about your non-stop brawling team feeling like they're winning all the time because they have a simple level lead that they do not understand how they got. Dragonshire. Now ideally your 4-man is making a nice rotation from the middle to the bot. The only problem here is that there is this thing, the Triangle of Death, sitting right in the middle of the map. This means your tanks can sometimes go through here. Maybe a brave tank will scout the enemy side and make sure the whole team can navigate, but the rotation can be difficult given that this is just a dangerous way to go, and walking like this takes way too much time. What ultimately ends up happening is that the 4-man stack is going to get ridiculously busy battling in the bottom for eternity, while you, the solo laner, are doing a great job pushing out and gaining that control we've been talking about. When you're burning XP into the enemy towers, you can rotate around safely and soak mid. The solo laner can make a tactical decision here on Dragonshire because of the safety of the rotate and the distance to double soak top mid. And finally, Sky Temple, a soak can be made between middle and bottom and back and forth. The first objective is always the middle and the top. This leaves the solo laner available to double soak bottom mid. And of course, as we push out, we gain access to new bushes and new angles of approach. Plus all that XP for the enemy team equal the kills. At this level, the first objective is being burned into the wall down here. Using the powers of deduction I just gifted you, you can see why we're not concerned with double soaking on a 2-lane map because the lane's already occupied. But you can also see why on our big maps, like Warhead Junction, Garden of Terror, Cursed Hollow, and Alterac Pass, why it wouldn't be effective to do a double soak. The distance is simply too large for you to catch every wave. That doesn't mean these principles aren't useful on our big 3-lane maps. We can find advantages, opportunities to double soak, or use double soaking to recover from a bad XP position. Here in Alterac Pass, our objectives are in the top or the bottom. If you were to gain control of the enemy side, why not perform a double soak between mid and bottom? Double bonus points because when the objective comes online, it's going to push all 3 lanes. If all these lanes are equally pushed out, that means we have pressure on all the lanes at the same time, meaning they're going to do the most damage as the enemy team struggles to figure out where to defend. Before we get into the heroes that can do a double soak, let's restate the goals of this double soaking. Have more XP than the enemy, making your team that doesn't stop fighting for whatever reason feel good about what they're doing and win that battle. Push out for map control and objectives. Reduce chances of gank, get greater control of the objective areas, and when those objectives come online, there is more danger present because more buildings are under siege. We want to push out fast, burn the enemy's XP into towers. And a small bonus to this is we get some tower damage in, depending on if we have enough archers available to do decent tower damage. And there are tons of heroes that can perform this in the late game. There are tons of heroes who have good enough lane clear to pull off a double soak. But if we want our team to actually know our strategy, we're going to have to do this from level 1. It's going to have to be something reliant to the team. And of course, that brings with it some caveats. So we need lane clear, but we also have to be able to survive escaping when we push past that middle of the map. After all, that's how we're going to burn the enemy XP and get a real advantage. We also can't be reliant on talents that are above level 4. Nidus Worm Zagara is cute, it's a long road to 10. There are a lot of heroes that in theory can perform this job well, but ultimately you want something clear of purpose. Ideally a solo laner that people are associated with who is going to be excused from combat, the non-stop 5-stacking without ridicule. These are my personal favorites. Of course, Zul is still seeing tons of bans above 70%. Malthael and Leoric have awesome cleaving auto attacks and the opportunity to speed up their lane clear with mana if they choose. Now, because of his prevalence in the mid leagues, I'll go ahead and include a tiny little honorary Nazeebo up there who is stacking for level 20. That's a very long road, but very popular. And for you freaks out there who are upset that I'm not going to mention them, Of course, Abathur and the Lost Vikings can do double soaks or even triple soaks, but that's a video for another time. With this in mind, it is now your job to find the expertise in doing your lane clear. The faster and more effective you lane clear, the more efficient and powerful and impactful your double soak is going to be to the enemy team. And you're going to have to figure out for yourself what your expertise looks like in your hero of choice. Here on Leoric, we know we want to cleave. And that third auto attack is a big single smack. So we smack the melee minion. Then we get back to cleaving. And then we smack, and we return to cleaving. If there was an enemy hero here, we might put our third smack, his last overhead swing for 100% additional damage, into the enemy hero, and then get back to cleaving. This changes with levels. And the reason why I love Leoric so much in the double soak position is because he gains access to Kneel Peasants. Skeletal Swing deals 100% more damage to minions, mercenaries, and monsters. This can suddenly change our rhythm, increase our speed when we're clearing. And of course, we always have that Wraith Walk to bail if some danger popped up. Of course, double soaking doesn't mean that you're playing a solo game. Always remember your fundamentals. Rotate into a team fight whenever you see you have an advantage on the enemy, particularly in numbers, because that enemy solo laner might be pushed out. Use your heroic on cooldown. Double soak for 50 seconds on Leoric, and then be sure to join a team fight and then get back to double soaking. Comment below and share your favorite double soaker with the community. I was Kyle Fergusson. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe on your way out and ring that bell. I'll see you next week with more Learn to Play content for Heroes of the Storm.